I'm now going to introduce to you the horrors of irregular verbs, with the point being, big deal. What's irregular about this? Is there anything deviating from the regular verb? Well, the regular verb that you just wrote on the quiz, the same form of katal would be what? Kital tem, right? Oops. Kital tem, right?
Right.
What's the difference between kital tem and avad tem? And why is this a composite schwa instead of a regular schwa? Because you got a guttural there. Okay. Big deal, right? But technically this gets classified as an irregular verb. Okay? And here's the point I'm trying to make to you, all right? And this is an introduction to irregular verbs, and we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. But while we're just playing with the basic perfect paradigm here, I want to alert you to this. In Hebrew, regular verbs are simply deviations from the regular verb, or variations of the regular verb. They are not something completely different, like me verbs or something. See? Here you're cruising along, you think you're nailing all these Greek verbs, and then they come up with some lesson on me verbs, and it's like a whole different bunch of verb forms, right? That's irregular. No, it isn't. It's different. In Hebrew, irregular verbs are simply, and here's another piece, predictable variations of the regular verb. What do I mean by predictable? You can explain why this schwa, is here, right? You can predict that. Okay. Now again, we're a little bit ahead of ourselves, but this is picking up right where we are. Let me explain that. Excuse me. When we talk about Hebrew roots, I said yesterday that we use the paradigm verb katal, that in a sense all Hebrew roots, and here I'm just going to use three X's to stand for any root you want, that almost all verbal roots are made up of three letters. Now, notice I said almost. Students should pay attention that this doesn't cover every conceivable possibility. And I'm going to concede right now that there are some more difficult problems. But for now, let's talk about three root letters. These three root letters all have a name. All right? The first root letter, whatever it is, the one letter that holds the first position, is called the first root letter. All right? The second root letter holds a position in the verbal root that's called the second root letter. And the third root letter is called the third root letter. All right? Now, we looked at our example of a fairly easy irregular verb, avad. Okay? This pattern, what's distinctive about this, or what's different about this from a regular verb like katal? Remember I told you why we use katal? Because all the consonants don't give you any trouble. They're regular. There's no begad kafath letters to worry about, dagesh lanes, and there's no gutturals. Okay? Why do they not use a verb like avad as a paradigm verb? Because it's got a guttural in the first position. Avad is called a first guttural root, or a first guttural verb. Do you understand what we mean by a verb that's first guttural? This ain't rocket science. Okay. Just for the sake of interest, you don't have to know this, all right? But while I'm talking about this, okay, you may run into grammars. Interestingly enough, let me rewrite this. That wasn't very good. interestingly enough, older grammars used a different paradigm verb. They used the verbal root pa'al. Pa'al. Now, why in the world would you pick a verb like pa'al?
Second guttural.
It's got a guttural here. It's got a dagish problem here because this is a begad kafath letter. They did this because this is the old Hebrew word in the medieval period when they were starting to codify grammars. This is the word for verb. It occurs in the Bible, and it means to do. All right, it's kind of one of your basic verbs, to do or make something. Okay, it's not all that common, but it's the verb to do, and it became the word for verb. So they used the verb for verb to indicate the paradigms for verbs. Do you understand? This isn't as bizarre as it sounds. Okay. Now, this has been abandoned by most modern grammars because what you really want is a more paradigmatic regular verb and not have to worry about oddities like this. All right? But I bring this to your attention only in the context of learning the names of the letter positions. Because you will see in the literature, especially older grammars, the first position not called the first position, but called the pay position. All right? Assuming that you all know we're working off of this as your paradigm verb. And in that nomenclature, in that system, avad would not be called a first guttural verb, but a pay guttural.